Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the Self Connection, where we have a conversation with a group of Ascended Masters known as the Multitude of the Greater Good. So I, Kelly, ask the questions, and Ginny is our wonderful channeler, and she channels answers from the multitude. And they're a group of Ascended Masters, healers, teachers that have access to information from the day of creation, including what each of us has charted in this lifetime. So they're a wonderful resource for teaching, for us to learn from, and for us to gain healing through Ginny's channeling. So welcome. Hi, Jen.
Hi. Good to see you, Kelly.
Good to see you.
I would just like to add that it is what we've come to accomplish, but we don't always accomplish. It's just that what we choose to accomplish, we may or may not accomplish in this lifetime. It's not a set in stone thing. It's just something that we have planned in spirit in order to accomplish in our growth processes. I believe it's all growth processes. However, sometimes we can and sometimes we can't.
Good point. And it doesn't mean that we failed if we can't.
That's
We'll just
right.
do it in another lifetime.
We can always do it next time.
Yep. No biggie. And no punishment either.
Right.
All right, Jenny. So I got a controversial topic that we're going to do in a non-controversial way. That is very neutral. We're going to do it in a neutral way, but in a way that hopefully, I mean, knowing the multitude, that we'll all get something good, informative from it that we can kind of move forward from a more enlightened place, I guess.
Okay.
So the topic is the political climate.
I knew it had something to do with political.
I warned Ginny before we got on here. How do you feel about so you know me, yeah, controversial subject, but you and I are both pretty neutral because we try to look at things from a higher spiritual perspective rather than getting dragged into the nitty gritty, although we're both humans, so I can't help it sometimes.
Right.
So I had these questions in a different order, and the multitude kindly guided me to change the order.
Yeah.
So I'll ask the first question, which is, what purpose does the political divide, and by the way, for those watching, Ginny and I are in the United States of America, and so, I think there's actually political divide happening elsewhere in other countries. I see news, but so it's not just for us here in America, but certainly we're experiencing it, unless they tell us this is a message for Americans. But the question is, what purpose does the political divide currently serve towards humanity and our evolution?
It is important to understand, my dear, that there is a great deal to be accomplished in division. There are those who believe some things and those who believe other things, and those who are willing to open their hearts and their minds, and those who are unwilling to open their hearts and their minds, therefore creating a conflict. Conflict always entails growth, always entails a higher state of self, always allows someone to learn more about who one is and why one is. When one decides it is right to move forward, one does. Sometimes one does or moves forward in quite an easy and gentle way. And sometimes one moves forward at a pace that they're unable to it's like keep up with, and that is the conflict. When one is open to understanding what is going on, one is able to allow oneself the ability to understand that it is more than just themselves involved. And when one is unable to understand on a higher and greater level, that it is quite like involving. Embodiment is the word I'm getting. Involving of many and much information and disinformation. One is able to move forward differently. In our estimation, it is important to understand that when one takes a breath and allows oneself to understand that they are the ones in charge of themselves and are able to compute and dilute whatever information that is being like fed to them, it is important to understand there is a great deal more in process than one can know. It is important that each one listen. It is important that each one know on the earth plane what is happening around them. However, it is also important for each one to understand that not only are they in charge of their knowing and their being, they are in charge of their discerning, their understanding of allowing many different things, and then knowing what is right for them. In our estimation, there is a great deal to be accomplished for each and every one. It is important to understand, however, that when one moves forward in such a state of being, that one opens one's heart to oneself. And in opening one's heart to oneself, one allows oneself to opening one's heart to, it's like others, but also the collective of beings on the earth plane. It is important to understand that much is transferred in energy. And when one opens one's heart to oneself and understands who one is, what one wants, and allows oneself to achieve one's goals of being who one is, the energy expended and extended from that knowing is completed and processed to, it's like, it's to everyone else, but it's to the collective energy of all. Do not be concerned, all is love.
I like that one. That was good. I'm still processing it, and as they said certain things, I like went off on that tangent, like, oh, let me ponder that for a second, and then I gotta come back and oh, so I feel like I'm looking forward to coming back and listening to this one again.
Okay.
Um, okay, so, but one of the big takeaways for me on that was like the process of living through a time of division and divisiveness helps each individual to better know themselves, better discern what is for them and what is not for them, discern what their truth is. And that's a whole nother controversial topic. Oh, I just felt all of that, which we already covered. I don't know that they're published yet, but true versus truth.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I think, gosh, this topic takes you in so many directions. I'm feeling it right now, just interacting with it. Okay, so yeah, it's like an opportunity for each person to get to know themselves better and also open their heart to themselves, and therefore then be able to open their hearts up to another, which allows the contribution to the collective, having a more open-hearted experience. I think that's what I heard them say.
I
Something along.
also know that when you open your heart to yourself, or in any way change your energy, you convey that energy out and you help another one. So if you're in a conversation or you're probably even in an argument, as you change your energy, it changes the energy between the two. It's kind of like a little bit hard to understand, especially if you're in an argument and there's anger involved. But as you change your energy, it changes the whole concept.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And so like the mechanics of that to me look like this. Let's say I'm talking to someone and they're really charged, and then it's triggering me and now I'm charged. And then I can somehow, or one of us can somehow come away and witness like, wow, we're both heated. This is not good. Okay, I recognize I'm heated. I'm gonna breathe and just tone it down a little bit, whether it's with words or just with allowing them to have their experience and not getting charged. That me calming myself can then therefore somehow be the drop in the ocean that ripples out, and then perhaps they are able to be calm.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting going on right now. Like, it's not good. Although they said a lot of growth comes from that, so maybe there is good.
I
I
hope,
like to.
because it all upsets me. I don't even want to follow it anymore because I get too upset by it. So
I know. Are you okay that we're talking about this?
no, I don't understand why people do that and do these things to each other. I just don't understand. And it really, it bewilders me, and it also upsets me that people treat each other in such a way.
Well, to me, it's a sign of woundedness. Like, I think it's like, I see that and I just say to myself, wow, they're very impassioned about this. I wonder why. And then in the wondering, it's like, I think in the wondering, there's an allowance, right? It's allowing them like, okay, so that's how you are. That's interesting. I'm going to let you be that way, but I wonder why you're that way. And then that often brings me to an understanding of why they are that way. And a lot of times there's a wound there. And it's like the wound just got salt in it. And it's not a conscious thing for someone, but because I can often witness this type, the energy of it, as I'm sure you can too, like it's like, oh, there's a wound there. There's a betrayal of some sort, and now they're defending their opinion. And if you rewind their life back, it started here, you know? And then it's like, oh, I have compassion for that person now, as I understand they're wounded. Um, and I'll try to then again like bring compassion to the situation to I don't know, sometimes I'm like bold enough to ask questions and people somehow let me like I get a little inkling of where that comes from, and then it's totally off topic, but I'll ask about like, did this happen in your childhood or this or that? And they'll be like, yeah, this, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, that's so interesting because that totally parallels where we are now. And then there's this, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Wow. But then it like that acknowledgement almost releases the charge around the current event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't dig deep into any of that. So I just say, I don't understand it. I don't like it. I don't understand why people treat each other that way. And I'm not going to participate in it in any way anymore, other than to send my energy. I guess that would be compassion to the
Yeah.
people.
Are you okay talking about this today?
Sure.
I'm sure. Okay. Um, okay, well, with that in mind, this is not something I had on my list, but just to keep this conversation going. Well, without asking like a super detailed question, like the multitude is here listening, um, what do they have to say about this dialogue we're having? What can they add to this?
It is important to understand, my dear, there is a great deal involved in your conversation. And as it is that you are quite open to all kinds of information, there is no way for us to answer that question. It's like intelligently. We would highly recommend that you ask a pertinent question in order to receive a direct answer.
Okay, well, that's
And
gonna be hard.
I added thank you.
You're welcome. Hmm. Like my question can take us in, I have two different questions. They could take us in different directions, so I'm trying to decide. Okay, so, well, how do I formulate that into a question though? Um, I guess I'll just ask, is there truth to what I'm saying? About a lot of people, are, whether it's probably applicable, to political divide and discussions and arguments or other types of arguments, that people often or can be acting from a wounded place, and that when met with compassion, that can decrease the charge, and therefore, and not just met with compassion, but acknowledge the root of the wound. Does that then affect meaningful change for the dialogue, for that person going forward?
It is important to understand, my dear, that there are many ways to heal oneself. One is in acknowledgement, one is in allowing, one is moving forth in a certain way or another. It is important to understand that it is the wound that is needing to be healed. And many times that wound is it's like unpredictable or unable to be placed in the current lifetime. There are many wounds and many occasions to create wounds and many occasions to heal wounds. However, it is unknown by most that those wounds can be healed, especially if they have not been created in the current lifetime. We can tell you there are those who are interested in healing those discomforts of being, those parts of themselves that have created information elsewhere and not been acknowledged or in any other way. It's like taken care of or healed. When one creates an instance of instability, one might say, and then says, oh, it's not important, we'll just leave it and go on. Well, in leaving it and not acknowledging the pain involved, not acknowledging that there is something left unfinished or undone, that creates a wound, so to speak. When one is able to say, okay, I feel this feeling. I don't know where it came from, but I'm feeling it and acknowledge that it's there. Then one is able to make a choice and heal it. In our estimation, it is quite right for each one to understand that there are many ways to create a wound, sometimes in this lifetime and sometimes in others. However, the healing part is always the same. It is acknowledging the feeling to heal the feeling. Do not be concerned, all is love.
So is it fair then to say that this massive device that is creating emotional charge in mass, especially in our country, and not just in our country, it's really all over, can that be paralleled to a massive healing experience for humanity right now?
In our estimation, each one is in charge of each one's own self. If they are ready to accept healing, they will accept healing. However, it is not a universal accomplishment. It is an individual accomplishment. Do not be concerned. All is love.
They never answer my humanity questions. They always go back to that. It's up to everyone.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there's a lot of psychics out there that do energy readings, energy forecasts on the collective. They focus on the collective, the collective, the collective. And the multitude is always bringing us back to the individual, which I think is really empowering because you can't blame it on the collective. You got to take ownership of yourself. Did we do an episode on energy forecasts? I think we did, right?
Energy forecasts? Not that I
Yeah.
remember. He's called by that.
I gotta go back. Maybe I'll add that to the list if we haven't done that. Okay, let me look at my next question. Oh, I don't think they're gonna answer this one, and it might be touchy to even ask it. But I'm gonna ask it anyway. Okay, so we have, okay, I'm gonna ask it, but I'm gonna change the way I think I ask it. Individually, if you can answer these as individuals, but within the same channeled answer. What can you say about the soul, SOUL, the sole purpose of each of our presidential candidates?
It is important to understand that each one has the ability and responsibility of not only allowing oneself to be who one is, but allowing the other to be who one is. And when one acknowledges that part in oneself, one can move forward beautifully. However, if one decides that one is more important than the other, or better than the other, or the other is inconsequential, one will allow the energy to dissipate within oneself, therefore moving forward, but falling backward. We can tell you that is what is happening. That always happens on a one-to-one basis in an election. It is important to understand that when one allows oneself to be who one is, then one is moving oneself forward. If it is that each one is in the process of allowing who each one is, then there is a debate process, so to speak, an ability to move oneself forward. However, when one discerns is the word, when one dismisses the other as being not only inconsequential, but unimportant, then a debate or a meaningful conversation cannot take place. Therefore, we would highly recommend that each one feel within themselves that which is right for them. If it is that the other is inconsequential, it does not matter, as it is the person feeling the feeling that is the one that is consequential. In our estimation, the ability to it's like have an election and be present for the other one is most important. However, in our estimation, we cannot see that that is the process today. There is one who is in earnest of being and one who is in willingness of being. It is important to understand that each one knows who one is and what one wants. However, only one can acknowledge that part of themselves that is most important to the completion of the process. Do not be concerned, all is love.
So it's interesting, they said there's one who's this way and there's one who's that way. And we actually have 3 candidates.
True.
One who is not allowed to debate because he didn't meet certain criteria, but he's still hoping to meet it in time to be on the ballot. And so we're recording this in July. We just had the debates, what, a week ago or a couple weeks ago?
Today is July 11th.
Yeah, 2024. And there's a lot around the debates of like, again, like Kennedy wasn't allowed to debate, so he had his own little offshoot debate where he answered the questions that the moderator posed. And then we had the debates, and then we had the fallout from the debates where everyone's freaking out. And so there seems to be like a lot of uncertainty right now in this country about what's going to happen next. And I'm not giving details here on purpose. I'm trying to remain neutral. Yeah.
It is important to understand that it does not matter who does what when. What matters is what's in one's own heart to follow their own guidance in their own line of being. If it is that there is dissension, it is wise of each one to stand straight and tall in their own shoes and feel their own feelings and then make their own decisions from that part of self. If it is that one tries to follow this or follow that, or put one down or put the other one down, it cannot work, as that is an external indication of being. One needs to check in with oneself and know in one's heart what is right for one, then make their decision. So
Okay.
so go ahead and finish your
Yeah. No, that's really good. And I think they were talking about the candidates in that message, right? Okay. But so my question is though, like in this mode of like, it just feels like I don't listen to the news or the radio.
Yeah, but I don't think they were talking about the candidates. I think they were
Oh,
more about the
no,
it's
voters.
all the dissension that was going on and
Yeah.
all of the back and forth, but one needs to know within oneself what one's right, and that part would be about the candidate. But it comes from what one's own knowing is. That's how I understood that.
Okay. Yeah. So my next question, and I think it's the last question, but we'll see where they take us, is what advice can the multitude give to Americans as they approach election season especially during this time of dissension, uncertainty? Yeah.
It is important to understand that as it is that you know that each one has their own choice to make. It is important for each one to understand that each one has one's own choice to make. It is not about following the crowd. It is about doing what is right for the person's self, the one self. It is important to understand that as one moves forward in who one is and what one knows, one is able to feel the feeling within. And when one can acknowledge the feeling from within, one can acknowledge that which is, without. It is important to understand when one tries to follow the feeling from without acknowledging that part of self that knows, there is a great deal of dissension, not only externally, but internally. And if it is that one is able to allow oneself, then one cannot allow anyone else. Therefore, we would highly recommend that each one look deep within one's own heart as to what is right for each one. And then one is able to stand straight and tall in making one's own decisions of being. Do not be concerned, all is love.
That's good.
Okay, good.
I don't think I have any more questions.
Okay.
Um, do you have any questions?
No. We would like each of you to understand that as it is that you move forward in this direction of being, of love and care, there is only one way for you to move forward. There cannot be a dissension between yourself and yourself. There can only be a dissension between you and what is going on. It is important to understand that as you acknowledge that within yourself, and allow yourself to move forward in the direction of your knowing, you will allow the all that is to step in, and the all that is will allow itself to make a courageous yet complete connection with each and every other one. Do not be concerned, all is love.
That's good. I like that. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, I do this a lot and I don't know if this is what the multitude is saying, but I use my outer world as a tool to help me to go inward. right? And so if I see something repeating patterns in my outer world, I use that as that's really interesting that that pattern is showing up, that keeps happening, that keeps presenting itself to me. I keep seeing this. What I try to like name it, and this is just like a cerebral experience, but it really helps me to get to the feeling part. But so I try to name it. So, okay, let's say division, right? Divisiveness, opposing opinions, it's like this divisive energy. If I see that over and over and over and over again in my outer world, then I say, I have to acknowledge that part of me that is divisive, that is opposing, right? And so I use that as a tool to go, okay, so where am I divisive? Where am I creating dissent? Where am I, what's the word I want? Like, kind of like, I don't know, it's like a fighting energy, right?
Within you.
Within me or in my world. And where am I doing that in the world? How am I contributing to that, the energy of?
Right.
And it can be between me and a friend, or between me and my relationship with food, like, or, it could be anything. It really could be anything.
Mhm.
It could be the way I think about something. And it's like, when I acknowledge that I'm basically part of the problem, right? What we call it a problem. The multitude would just say it's learning
Right.
and growing. But where am I contributing to this energy of whatever it is that I've named? And then I say, okay, what is being called out? How do I neutralize that? Or how do I give grace to that? How do I own that part of me and shift it? Because if I can shift it within me, and I'm a drop in the ocean, if I shift it in me, then very slowly my outer world will begin to reflect that back to me.
Yeah, sure.
So that's my advice for folks is like, if you like, I just look at life in patterns and try not to, I mean, I say that I'm human, like I do judge, we all judge, it's part of the human condition. But I can witness my judgment and then go, oh, there you go again. Silly human, look at you judging. Okay, you want to judge? Let's see, what is it that you're judging? Oh, I'm judging this opinionated, someone's super opinionated about something. Okay, well, where are you opinionated? Well, I'm pretty opinionated about this and this and this and this and okay, so it's okay for you to do it, but not for them. Okay, good. You can have your opinion and I'll have mine. And then there's like this loving detachment that happens that's allowing another person to be them. And then because otherwise I'm not, then I'm judging myself. I'm judging another, I'm judging myself.
And
So
it's important to allow another to be themselves. When you can
you
allow
know,
yourself to be yourself and know what you know, it's important to allow them to do the same. And then you can, if you can acknowledge that and allow that, then you can heal a lot of things in that area of being.
yeah, it's so powerful. I mean, I have witnessed it firsthand and it shifts things like this in my outer world and in the collective. Like I see it reflected back to me in the collective like this.
Yeah.
And this is where we're creator beings and all this. So I think it's a wonderful tool, and it also helps you to bring compassion to any sort of sticky situation. It's hard though, like, because some things like are really harmful to other people, and because I can hear that right now, like, oh yeah, you think it's okay to allow someone to be X, Y, and Z and do A, B, and C. I can hear that. It's like, well, on some level, I don't have control over that. I don't have influence or power over that. So in my powerlessness, where can I shift the energy? You know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, a lot is about control. You really have a lot of people, myself included. You know, it's hard not to control. So I try to acknowledge that and say, oh, and release that and let the other person be who they are. And then it's not easy. It's not easy. You can say,
Yeah.
oh, it's all you have to do. It's simple. Yeah, it's not easy. No.
The instruction manual looks simple, but doing it is like,
Right.
takes some muscle. It's a
Exactly.
mental muscle. But the multitude says it all the time, when it is that one can allow another to be themselves, like they always talk about allowing and allowing another to be themselves and allowing yourself to be yourself. Allow, 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 allow.
Yeah. Because
It's
then
one
you
of their biggest words.
allow your knowing, you allow yourself to be here, you allow who you are, and you know, you can't be someone else. You just have to allow yourself.
Yeah, and if someone else is disallowing you, well, you can allow yourself by not even engaging in that conversation.
Yeah.
And you can allow them to have their opinion about you.
Exactly. Which doesn't
That's,
mean anything because it's all, we know who we are.
yeah, but I wonder if some people really are fighting because they don't know who they are, or they don't trust themselves and who they are,
Right.
because it feels scary for someone else to have an opposing opinion. That can feel like a threat.
Mhm.
And again, there's probably a wound there that goes way back.
Right.
Anyway, well, any final closing words from the multitude on this topic?
Yes. We would like each of you to understand that not only are you in charge of your own selves, you are free to make your own decisions. It is important to understand that there are those who would like you to understand that you are not smart enough. You are not wise enough. You are not capable of making a decision for yourself. In our estimation, it is important that you take the opportunity to find out what you need to know on the external and allow yourself on the internal to process that information and making your own decisions. In our estimation, it is the only way one can operate on the earth plane. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are most pleased to be able to help.
Guys. Well, Ginny, thanks for channeling.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Yes.
your questions.
Yeah, well, controversial, but not, try to try to have a message in there for everyone, really. And I think the multitude did a great job at doing that. So thank you for channeling that for us.
You're welcome. All right.
All
Oh,
right. Well,
good to see you tonight, Kelly.
you too, always, Jen. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you guys next time on the Self Connection.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.